The great hall of the United Earth Council was silent. 300 representatives from every nation sat in their seats, watching the alien standing at the center of the room. Ambassador Etched was tall and thin, with blue skin and forearms that moved slowly as she spoke. Her voice was soft, but it carried to every corner of the hall. The Vethkai Dominion has taken 200 worlds in the last 50 years, she said. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. They take what they want, and they destroy what they cannot use. The Galactic Concordat has fought them for 3 centuries. We have lost millions of ships, billions of lives, and now, we are losing the war. Chancellor Elena Vasquez listened carefully. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but her mind was sharp. She had led Earth through 20 years of peace, and she had hoped to keep that peace for 20 more. What do you want from us? She asked. Etched's 4 hands pressed together in a gesture of respect. We want your help. Your ships. Your soldiers. Humanity is young. Yes, you have only traveled the stars for 200 years. But we have watched you. You are clever. You are brave. You adapt faster than any species we have ever seen. With your help, we might turn the tide of this war. The representatives began to whisper among themselves. Some looked excited. Others looked afraid. Chancellor Vasquez raised her hand, and the room fell silent again. We will discuss your request, she said. Please wait outside. Etched bowed and left the hall. But she was not the only alien who had come to Earth that day. In the shadows near the back of the room, another figure watched. Dominion voice Kethral was short and thick, with gray scales and eyes like black stones. He represented the Vethkai Dominion, and he had come to deliver a very different message. The debate lasted for 6 hours. Some representatives argued that humanity should join the war. The Vethkai were monsters, they said. They enslaved entire species. They burned worlds that refused to surrender. If humanity did not fight now, they might be next. But others disagreed. Humanity was not ready, they said. Earth's fleet was small. Their soldiers had never fought in a real war. If they joined the Concordat, they would be sending millions of young people to die in a conflict they did not understand. Chancellor Vasquez listened to every argument. She asked questions. She studied reports. And when the debate was over, she stood up and spoke. I have heard your words, she said. I have felt your fear and your courage, and I have made my decision. She turned to face the cameras that were broadcasting her words to every corner of Earth. Humanity will not join this war. The room exploded with noise. Some representatives cheered. Others shouted in anger. Chancellor Vasquez waited for the noise to die down before she continued. We will not send our soldiers to fight and die in distant stars. But we will not turn our backs on those who suffer. Earth will offer humanitarian aid to any species that needs it. We will welcome refugees. We will heal the wounded. We will feed the hungry. We will be a place of peace in a galaxy of war. She paused and looked directly at the camera. This is not cowardice. This is choice. We choose to help in our own way. We choose to be healers, not warriors. Outside the hall, Etched received the news with sadness but understanding. I had hoped for more, she told her staff. But the humans are young. Perhaps they are wise to stay out of this fight. But Kethral had a very different reaction. He stood in his ship, looking down at the blue and green planet below, and he smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Cowards, he said to himself. Weak, soft cowards. He activated his communication device and sent a message to Vethkai High Command. The message was short and simple. The humans are weak. They fear war. They will not interfere. They have a large population and many resources. They would make excellent slaves. Thousands of light years away, a Vethkai fleet commander named Yothran received the message. He was old and scarred, with one eye missing and half his face burned from a battle long ago. He had destroyed 100 worlds in his lifetime. He had never lost a fight. He read Kethral's message and laughed. So the humans think they can stay neutral, he said to his officers. They think they can hide from the war. Let us teach them a lesson. Let us show them what happens to species that refuse to serve the Dominion. His officers cheered. They were hungry for battle, hungry for conquest. A soft, peaceful world like Earth would be easy prey. Yothran pulled up a map of the galaxy and studied the location of the human homeworld. It was far from the front lines of the war, protected by empty space. The Concordat would never be able to send help in time. "Prepare the 7th Annihilation Fleet," he ordered. 400 ships, 3 planet crackers. We will give the humans one chance to surrender, and when they refuse, we will turn their world to ash. Back on Earth, life continued as normal. People went to work, children went to school. The news talked about the Council's decision, and most people agreed with it. War was terrible. They said, it was better to help from the side than to fight and die. Chancellor Vasquez stood at her window that night, looking up at the stars. She felt proud of her decision. She had chosen peace. She had chosen mercy. But deep in her heart, she felt something else too. A small voice that whispered a warning. A feeling that she had missed something important. She pushed the feeling away and went to bed. 6 months later, she would remember this night. She would remember standing at the window, looking at the stars, feeling safe and proud. And she would wish, more than anything, that she had listened to that small voice, because the Vethkai were coming, and they were about to make the biggest mistake in the history of the galaxy. 6 months had passed since Earth declared its neutrality. In that time, the planet had become something beautiful. Ships arrived every week carrying refugees from the war. Aliens of every shape and size came to Earth seeking safety, and Earth welcomed them all. Haven Station was the largest refugee center in the solar system. It floated in orbit above Earth, a massive ring of metal and glass that sparkled in the sunlight. Inside lived 2.3 million beings from dozens of different species. There were families who had lost their homes, children who had lost their parents, old people who had seen their worlds burn, and there were volunteers from Earth who helped them, doctors who healed their wounds, teachers who taught their children, cooks who prepared food from 100 different planets. Haven Station was proof that kindness still existed in a galaxy of war. Dr. Sarah Chen worked in the children's ward. She was 32 years old, with short black hair and a smile that could calm even the most frightened child. Today, she was playing a game with a group of young refugees. They came from a planet called Varus 4, and they had seen terrible things. But here, in this bright room filled with toys and laughter, they were just children again. Again, shouted a little girl with purple skin and 6 eyes. She had just learned how to catch a ball, and she wanted to practice. Sarah laughed and threw the ball again. "You're getting good at this." She did not know that in less than 1 hour, she and everyone on the station would be dead. The Vethkai fleet arrived without warning. 400 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They were massive and ugly, covered in weapons and armor. At the center of the fleet flew the flagship of Commander Yotharen, a ship called the Devastator. Earth's defense systems detected them immediately. Alarms rang across the planet. Chancellor Vasquez was pulled from a meeting and rushed to the command center. "How many ships?" she asked. 400, said General Marcus Webb. His face was pale. "Including 3 planet crackers. Chancellor, we have maybe 50 defense ships. We cannot fight them." Before Vasquez could respond, a message came through. Commander Yothran appeared on the screen. His face was scarred and burned, and his single eye stared at them with cold hatred. "Humans," he said. "I am Commander Yothran of the Vethkai Dominion. You have 1 hour to surrender. You will give us all your resources. You will give us 40% of your population as workers. In return, we will allow the rest of you to live. If you refuse, we will destroy your planet. You have 1 hour." The screen went dark. The next hour was chaos. People on Earth panicked. Some ran to shelters. Others prayed. The council met in emergency session, shouting and arguing about what to do. But Chancellor Vasquez already knew what she would say. She stood up and walked to the communication console. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "Open a channel to the Vethkai fleet." Commander Yothran appeared on screen again. He looked amused, like a cat playing with a mouse. "Have you made your decision, human?" Vasquez looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke 2 words. "We decline." Yothran blinked his single eye. He had expected fear. He had expected begging. He had not expected this. "You decline?" he repeated. "You understand what this means? We will destroy you." "Perhaps," said Vasquez, "but we will not be slaves. We will not give you our people. Do what you must." For a moment, Yothran felt something strange, a tiny flicker of doubt, but he pushed it away. These humans were just trying to look brave. They would learn soon enough. "Very well," he said. Let me show you what happens to species that refuse the Dominion. He turned to his weapons officer. Target the refugee station. The big one orbiting their planet. Haven Station, Commander. Yes. Destroy it. On Haven Station, the alarms had been ringing for an hour. The refugees were scared but calm. They had been through worse. Earth would protect them. They believed. Earth was different. Dr. Sarah Chen was helping children into the shelter area when she looked out a window. She saw a bright light in the distance, getting closer. For one moment, she thought it was beautiful. Then the light hit the station. The explosion was instant. Haven Station was vaporized in less than a second. 2.3 million lives ended in a flash of fire. The children Sarah had been playing with, the families she had helped, the old people who had finally found peace, all gone. On Earth, billions of people watched. The explosion was visible from the surface, a new star that burned for just a moment and then disappeared. Parents covered their children's eyes. Old men and women wept. Young people stood frozen, unable to believe what they had seen. In the command center, Chancellor Vasquez stared at the screen. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands had stopped shaking. They were very still now. "Chancellor?" said General Webb. "What do we do?" Vasquez did not answer immediately. She was thinking about the children on that station. She was thinking about Dr. Sarah Chen, who had volunteered to help because she believed in kindness. She was thinking about every refugee who had come to Earth because they trusted humanity to protect them. She opened the communication channel one more time. Commander Yothran appeared on screen, smiling. "Do you understand now, human? Do you see what we can do? Surrender, and we will spare your planet." Vasquez looked at him. When she spoke, her voice was different, colder, harder. "You have made a mistake." Yothran laughed. "A mistake? We just killed millions of your guests. What mistake have we made? You will understand soon." She ended the communication. Around her, the military officers were confused. What could Earth do? Their fleet was tiny. Their weapons were weak. The Vethkai could destroy them easily. But then General Webb received a message. His eyes went wide as he read it. "Chancellor," he whispered. "Contingency Prometheus is asking for authorization." Vasquez closed her eyes for just a moment. She had hoped this day would never come. She had prayed that humanity would never need to reveal what it had built in secret, but now there was no choice. "Authorized," she said. "Wake them up. Wake them all up. Across the solar system, in hidden bases on asteroids and moons, in secret shipyards buried under ice and rock, lights began to turn on. Machines that had slept for centuries began to wake. Ships that no one knew existed began to power their engines. The Vethkai had made their mistake. Now they would pay for it. Commander Yothran stood on the bridge of the Devastator, watching the blue planet below. He felt satisfied. The refugee station was gone, and the humans had learned their place. Soon they would surrender, and he would add another conquest to his long list of victories. "Commander," said his sensor officer, "we are detecting activity in the asteroid belt." Yothran did not look concerned. "What kind of activity?" "Ships, Commander." "Many ships." They are coming toward us." "How many ships?" The sensor officer was quiet for a moment. Then his voice cracked with fear. 12,000, Commander. And there are more appearing every minute." Yothran turned to look at his officer. "That is impossible. The humans have 50 ships. Our intelligence confirmed this. I'm showing you the data, Commander. 12,000 ships and counting. They are coming from the asteroid belt, from the moons of Jupiter, from beneath the ice of Europa. They were hidden. They were waiting." Yothran walked to the sensor station and looked at the screen himself. What he saw made his blood turn cold. The ships were everywhere. They were rising from asteroids like insects from a hive. They were breaking through the ice of frozen moons. They were emerging from clouds of gas and dust where no one thought to look, and they were all heading toward his fleet. "Impossible," he whispered. "This is impossible." But it was not impossible. It was the truth that humanity had hidden from the galaxy for 200 years. When humans first made contact with alien life, they learned a hard lesson. The galaxy was dangerous. Species conquered other species. Empires rose and fell. The strong survived, and the weak became slaves or corpses. The governments of Earth met in secret. They argued for months, and in the end, they made a decision. They would show the galaxy a peaceful face. They would be kind and gentle and neutral, but in secret, they would prepare for the worst. They called it the Prometheus Protocol. For 200 years, while Earth publicly built a small defense fleet, they secretly constructed something much larger. Automated shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt worked day and night, building warships by the thousand. Research stations developed weapons that had never been seen before. The best scientists on Earth spent their lives creating technology that they hoped would never be used. The result was the Iron Tide, 12,000 warships, each one automated, each one carrying weapons that could crack a planet in half. They had slept in the darkness of space, waiting for the day when Earth would need them. That day had come. On the bridge of the Devastator, alarms began to scream. Commander Yothrin watched his tactical display with growing horror. The human ships were faster than his. They were spreading out, surrounding his fleet like a net closing around a fish. "All ships, battle formation," he shouted. "Prepare to engage." His 400 warships moved into position. They were the finest vessels in the Vethkai fleet, crewed by the best warriors in the Dominion. They had never lost a battle. They would not win this one. The first human ships reached firing range. They did not hesitate. They did not send warnings. They simply opened fire. Yothrin had seen many weapons in his long career. He had burned cities with plasma cannons. He had cracked planets with gravity bombs. But he had never seen anything like this. The human ships fired beams of pure darkness. Where the beams touched Vethkai ships, the metal simply disappeared. Not exploded, not melted, disappeared. Entire cruisers vanished in an instant, leaving nothing behind. "What weapons are those?" Yothrin screamed. "What is this?" His science officer was shaking. "Antimatter projection, Commander. They are firing concentrated antimatter. When it touches matter, both are destroyed completely. No debris, no survivors." The battle lasted 6 hours. In the history books, it would be called the Slaughter of Sol. 400 Vethkai warships against 12,000 human vessels. It was not a fair fight. It was not meant to be. Commander Yothrin watched his fleet die around him. Ships that had conquered 100 worlds were torn apart in seconds. Warriors who had never known fear screamed as their vessels were ripped to pieces. The 3 planet crackers, the most powerful weapons in the Vethkai arsenal, were destroyed before they could fire a single shot. And then something even worse appeared. It rose from the ice of Europa, a moon of Jupiter. It was so large that Yothrin thought his sensors were broken. A ship the size of a small moon, covered in weapons that glowed with terrible light. It moved slowly, like a giant waking from a long sleep. The humans called it the Leviathan. It had been built over 150 years. Every nation on Earth had contributed to its construction. It was designed for one purpose only: to end wars. The Leviathan opened fire. Its main weapon was something the galaxy had never seen: a stellar compression beam that created a temporary black hole. Dozens of Vethkai ships were pulled together and crushed into a ball of metal the size of a small house. Yothrin knew he was going to die. He accepted this. But before he died, he had to know one thing. He opened a communication channel to the human command center. Chancellor Vasquez appeared on his screen. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with cold fire. "Why?" Yothrin asked. "Why did you hide this? You could have ruled the galaxy. You could have been the greatest power in existence. Why did you pretend to be weak?" Vasquez looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because we hoped we would never need to use it. Because we wanted to believe that the galaxy could be better. Because we thought that if we showed kindness, others would show kindness in return." She leaned forward. "You killed 2.3 million people who trusted us to protect them. You killed 400,000 children who came to us because they had nowhere else to go. You thought we were weak because we chose peace. You were wrong." Yothrin's ship shook as weapons fire tore through its hull. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you die," said Vasquez. "And then we come for your masters." The communication ended. 3 seconds later, the Devastator was destroyed. Commander Yothrin did not even have time to scream. When the battle was over, not a single Vethkai ship remained. The human fleet had lost 200 vessels. A small price to pay. Chancellor Vasquez broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Every species with a radio receiver heard her words. "This is Chancellor Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Council. Today, The Vethkai Dominion attacked our home and killed millions of innocent people. They thought we were weak. They thought we would not fight back. They were wrong." She paused. "We did not want this war. We still do not want it. But you have left us no choice. To the Vethkai Dominion, hear me now. We are coming. We are coming for your slave worlds. We are coming for your fleet. We are coming for your homeworld. And we will not stop until this is over." She ended the transmission. In the darkness of space, the Leviathan turned toward the stars. Its engines glowed like captured suns. Behind it, the iron tide formed into battle lines. Destination: Vethkai Prime. Estimated arrival: 3 weeks. The war had begun. The galaxy watched in silence as the human fleet crossed the stars. News spread faster than any ship could travel. The Vethkai 7th Annihilation Fleet had been destroyed in 6 hours. 400 warships, 3 planet crackers, all gone. Commander Yothran, who had never lost a battle in his life, was dead. And now the humans were coming for the Dominion itself. On 1,000 worlds, slaves who had given up hope began to whisper. On the planets of the Galactic Concordat, leaders who had dismissed humanity as weak and foolish watched the news with wide eyes. Everything they thought they knew about the human species was wrong. Admiral James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Leviathan, studying the star map before him. He was 60 years old, with dark skin, gray hair, and the steady hands of a man who had spent his life preparing for a war he hoped would never come. Now, the war was here, and he was responsible for ending it. "Admiral," said his navigation officer, "we have a decision to make." Okonkwo looked at the map. The fastest route to Vethkai Prime passed through empty space, but there was another path. It was longer, but it went through something important: slave worlds. The Vethkai had conquered hundreds of species over the centuries. Most of them still existed, but not as free people. They worked in mines and factories, building weapons for their masters. They lived in chains, born and died in chains, generation after generation. The longer route would take them past 7 of these slave worlds. "We could save weeks if we go straight to Vethkai Prime," said his tactical officer. "Every day we wait gives them more time to prepare their defenses." Okonkwo nodded slowly. "True, but we did not build this fleet to ignore suffering. Contact the Chancellor. Tell her we recommend the longer route." 2 hours later, Chancellor Vasquez responded. Her message was simple: free them. Free them all. The Iron Tide changed course. The first slave world was called Nexus 7. It was a mining planet where beings called the Torani had worked for 300 years. They were small creatures, covered in soft gray fur, with large sad eyes. Once, long ago, they had been artists and poets. Now they were tools. When the human fleet arrived, the Vethkai garrison tried to fight. They had 20 ships and 5,000 soldiers. The battle lasted 11 minutes. The human ships did not even use their heavy weapons. They did not need to. What happened next would be remembered for generations. The human soldiers landed on the surface. They were tall and strange to the Torani, covered in armor and carrying weapons. The slaves expected death. They had seen what happened when armies came to their world. Instead, the humans brought food. They brought medicine. They brought doctors who treated wounds that had been left to rot for years. They brought engineers who cut the chains from the slaves' bodies. A young Torani named Kella stood before Admiral Okonkwo, shaking with fear and confusion. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you help us? What do you want from us?" Okonkwo knelt down so he could look her in the eye. "We want nothing from you. We are here because what the Vethkai did to you is wrong. We are here because you deserve to be free. That is all." Kella stared at him for a long moment. Then she began to cry. It was the first time she had cried since she was a child. She had learned not to cry. Crying was weakness, and weakness meant death. But now, for the first time in her life, she felt safe. News of Nexus 7 spread across the galaxy. The humans were not just warriors. They were liberators. They did not take slaves. They did not demand payment. They simply freed people and moved on. The Iron Tide visited 6 more slave worlds on its journey. Each time, the pattern was the same. The Vethkai garrisons fought and died. The slaves were freed. Food and medicine were distributed, and then the humans left, continuing their march toward Vethkai Prime. On concorded worlds, people began to argue. Should they join the humans? Should they fight alongside them? Chancellor Vasquez refused all offers of alliance. "This is our war," she told the Concordat ambassadors. "Our debt. We failed the people on Haven Station. We promised them safety, and we could not protect them. Now we will make this right. Stay out of our way." The Concordat obeyed. No one wanted to get in the way of the Iron Tide. On Vethkai Prime, Supreme Dominion Lord Vrethak received reports of the human advance with growing fear. He was old, older than any other Vethkai alive, and he had ruled the Dominion for 40 years. He had crushed rebellions. He had destroyed entire species. He had never known defeat, but he had also never faced an enemy like this. "I do not understand them," he told his war council. "They fight without mercy, but they take no slaves. They destroy our fleets, but they do not claim our territory. They free the conquered worlds, but they ask nothing in return. What do they want?" No one had an answer. Intercepted communications from the human fleet only made things more confusing. The humans talked about something called justice. They talked about protecting the innocent. They talked about making things right. These were concepts that the Vethkai did not understand. In their culture, the strong took what they wanted. The weak served or died. There was no justice. There was only power. "Perhaps they want revenge," suggested one of Vrethak's advisors. "Perhaps they will destroy us for what we did to their station." "Then why free the slaves?" Vrethak asked. "Why waste time helping creatures who cannot fight for them? Perhaps it is a trick. Perhaps." Vrethak stared at the tactical display showing the human fleet moving closer every day. "Or perhaps they are simply different from us. Perhaps they fight for reasons we cannot comprehend." He turned to his fleet commanders. "Gather every ship we have. Every soldier. Every weapon. The humans want a war. We will give them the greatest battle in the history of the galaxy. We will show them that the Dominion does not surrender." The Vethkai war machine began to move. Ships were called back from every corner of the Dominion. Soldiers were mobilized on 100 worlds. Within 2 weeks, 50,000 warships had gathered around Vethkai Prime, the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Admiral Okonkwo studied the intelligence reports. 50,000 ships," he said. "They have brought everything they have." His tactical officer looked worried. "Admiral, we have 12,000. Even with our superior weapons, those are difficult odds." Okonkwo smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Those are exactly the odds I expected. The Vethkai think numbers will save them. They think they can overwhelm us with ships and soldiers. They do not understand what they are facing." He turned to his communication officer. "Open a channel to the fleet. All ships." When the channel was open, he spoke. "This is Admiral Okonkwo. In 3 days we will reach Vethkai Prime. We will face the largest enemy fleet ever assembled. Many of us will die, but we did not come here to survive. We came here to finish this. We came here for the people who died on Haven Station. We came here for every species the Vethkai have enslaved. We came here to show the galaxy that there are some things you do not do, some lines you do not cross, some mistakes you do not get to walk away from." He paused. "The Vethkai killed our guests. They killed children under our protection. They thought we would do nothing. They were wrong. Now let us show them what humanity really is." The fleet responded with a roar of voices. 12,000 ships, moving as one, carrying the anger of a species that had finally been pushed too far. Vethkai Prime waited in the darkness ahead. The final battle was coming. The sky above Vethkai Prime was filled with ships. 50,000 warships hung in orbit around the planet, their weapons pointed at the darkness of space. Below them, billions of Vethkai citizens watched and waited. They had been told that the human fleet was coming. They had been told that the Dominion would destroy it. Supreme Dominion Lord Vrethak stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He was dressed in his finest armor, covered in medals from 100 victories. Around him, his most trusted officers waited for orders. "They are coming," said his censor officer. "The human fleet has entered the system." Vrethak looked at the tactical display. 12,000 human ships against 50,000 Vethkai vessels. The numbers were clearly in his favor, and yet, he felt something he had not felt in 40 years of rule. Fear. He pushed it down. Fear was for the weak. "All ships, prepare to engage," he ordered. "Today we crush the human threat forever. Today we show the galaxy that the Dominion cannot be defeated." His officers cheered, but their voices sounded hollow, even to themselves. The iron tide came out of faster than light travel like a storm breaking over the ocean. 12,000 ships, with the Leviathan at their center, spreading out into battle formation. They did not slow down. They did not hesitate. They simply came forward, weapons already glowing. Admiral Okonkwo sat in his command chair, watching the Vethkai fleet arrange itself into defensive lines. It was an impressive sight, the largest military force in galactic history, gathered in one place, ready to fight to the death. It would not be enough. All ships, Okonkwo said calmly. Engage. The battle began. The first wave of human ships crashed into the Vethkai lines like a hammer striking glass. Antimatter beams tore through shields that had been designed to stop any weapon. Gravity torpedoes pulled clusters of enemy ships together before ripping them apart. Drone swarms, millions of tiny automated fighters, swarmed over Vethkai cruisers and tore them to pieces. The Vethkai fought back with everything they had. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness. Missile salvos darkened the stars. For every human ship destroyed, 10 Vethkai vessels died. But they kept fighting, because they had no choice. The Leviathan moved through the battle like a mountain walking among insects. Its shields absorbed hits that would have destroyed any normal ship. Its weapons fired in every direction, each shot destroying another enemy vessel. And then it deployed its main weapon. The stellar compression beam fired. For a brief moment, a point of absolute darkness appeared in the middle of the Vethkai fleet. Ships were pulled toward it like water going down a drain. Hundreds of vessels, crushed together into a sphere of metal, no larger than a house. When the beam stopped, there was nothing left. On the Eternal Conquest, Vrethok watched his fleet dying. 20,000 ships were gone in the first 2 hours, 30,000 by hour 4. The humans just kept coming, relentless, unstoppable. "Dominion Lord," said his tactical officer. "We cannot win this battle. We should surrender." Vrethok grabbed the officer by the throat and threw him against the wall. "The Dominion does not surrender," he hissed. "We fight. We die. But we do not give up." He turned to his communication officer. "Order all planetary defense batteries to fire. Everything we have. If we cannot defeat their fleet, we will make them pay such a price that no one will ever attack us again." On the planet below, massive weapons that had been built to crack moons began to power up. They pointed at the sky, ready to fire, but they never got the chance. Admiral Okonkwo saw what was happening. He gave one simple order: take out the planetary weapons, but do not harm the civilian areas. Precision strikes only. The Iron Tide obeyed. Surgical strikes hit the weapon platforms, destroying them before they could fire. Not a single shot landed on a civilian center. Not one innocent person died. Vrethok could not believe what he was seeing. "They had the chance to destroy our cities," he whispered. "They could have killed billions. Why did they not take the shot?" He did not understand. He could never understand. The battle lasted 9 hours. When it was over, the mighty Vethkai fleet was gone. 47,000 ships destroyed, 3,000 captured. The rest fled into deep space, never to return. The sky above Vethkai Prime was empty except for the human fleet. Billions of Vethkai citizens looked up, waiting for the fire to fall. They knew what they would do if they had won. They would burn the enemy planet to ash. They would kill everyone. It was what the Dominion had always done. The fire never came. Instead, Admiral Okonkwo broadcast a message to the planet. "People of Vethkai," he said, "your fleet is destroyed. Your dominion is ended. But we are not here to kill you. We are not here for revenge. We are here to offer you a choice." In his command center, Vrethok listened. "You will release all slaves. Every species you have conquered will be free to leave or stay as they choose. You will surrender all planet-cracking weapons. You will turn over those responsible for war crimes to face justice. Your military will be limited to defense only." Okonkwo paused. "In exchange, you will live. Your planet will remain. Your people will survive. You will have the chance to become something better than what you were. This is our offer. You have 1 hour to accept." Vrethok sat in silence for a long time. His officers looked at him, waiting. "It is a trick," said one of them. "They want us to lower our defenses so they can destroy us more easily." "No," Vrethok said slowly. "It is not a trick. They mean what they say." "How do you know?" Vrethok laughed. It was a bitter sound. "Because they could have destroyed us already. They could have burned our cities while our fleet still fought. They did not. They could have demanded our complete extinction. They did not. They want something we cannot understand. Something called mercy. He stood up and removed his medals, one by one. We spent 3 centuries conquering the galaxy. We enslaved hundreds of species. We killed billions. And in one day, a species we thought was weak has brought us to our knees, not because they are cruel, not because they are monsters, but because they are something we never knew existed. He looked at his officers. They are protectors. They fight for others. They destroy fleets and free slaves, and then they offer peace to their enemies. I do not understand them. I do not think I ever will. But I know one thing. He turned to the communication console. We have lost. Completely. Absolutely. And if we do not accept their offer, they will finish what they started. Not because they want to, but because they must. He opened a channel to the human fleet. This is Supreme Dominion Lord Vrethuk. We accept your terms. 1 year later, a memorial was built at the place where Haven Station had once orbited Earth. It was a ring of light, visible from the surface, a reminder of those who had been lost. Chancellor Elena Vasquez stood before a crowd of millions, humans and aliens together, and spoke. We did not want this war. We never wanted it. We built our hidden fleet, hoping we would never use it. We showed the galaxy a peaceful face because we believed peace was possible. She paused. We were wrong about some things. Peace is not always possible. Some enemies will only understand strength. Some attacks cannot be answered with words. But we were right about other things. Mercy is not weakness. Compassion is not foolishness. We could have destroyed Vethkai Prime. We could have killed billions in revenge for what they did to us. We chose not to. She looked at the ring of light above. The people who died on Haven Station trusted us. They came to us because they believed humanity was different. They believed we would protect them. We failed them once. We will not fail them again. Across the galaxy, beings of every species watched her words. The war was over. The slaves were free. The Vethkai Dominion had been transformed into something new, something that was slowly learning to live without conquest, and humanity had become something the galaxy had never seen before. In the archives of the Galactic Concordat, the entry for the human species was updated. Under the section marked Threat Assessment, a single word was added: Apex, not because humans were the strongest, not because they had the most ships or the most powerful weapons, but because they had something rarer than strength. They had the power to destroy everything and the wisdom to choose not to. That made them more dangerous than any empire, and more hopeful than any light in the darkness of space.